did, but I need to see if there's a way we can address the courts that Faith doesn't want to go with Chris for visitation, or how's that going to work? Do I do that, or do you let them know?
Do not move that screen. Oh.
Thank you all for being here. Let me first call Lauren, Hannah, and Charlie Hannah. And looks like Miss Hannah or Cozad is here. Miss Turnbull, we're here on a 30-day GAL review just to make sure you made contact with the parties and got the information you need. Can you give me an update on that?
Sure. I've made contact with Ms. Kennedy and with Presley. We've had Ms. Kennedy has returned her paperwork. We've had a home interview. I've visited Presley at school. That's all gone very smoothly. I have not made contact with Mr. Hanna. I have called him. I have sent paperwork by mail. I have texted him. I have done everything I can to reach out to him. And if you may recall or look back in the meeting minutes from the last hearing, I was present when I was appointed, and I gave my phone number out during the hearing. So he had the opportunity to take down my phone number, and he has not reached out to me either. So I'm not sure where to go with Mr. Hanna at this point. But there's been no contact for him.
Right. I see that trial is set the week of August 14th. I know you're having issues getting a hold of Mr. Hanna, but do you see any problem in getting a report done by August 14th?
No, I have sent him a letter, a certified letter earlier in the week, letting him know that trial is coming and that if he'd like to participate, I need his response by June 23rd.
Ms. Hanna, any comment from you?
I am ready to move forward, Your Honor. I don't want to prolong this any further just so my daughter can have some resolution with this situation. So if Mr. Hanna is not going to comply, then I say we move forward without him.
Yeah, I'm not entertaining any thought of changing the trial date.
Okay. Then I'm ready.
Ms. Turnbull, do you think we need another review before trial, or should I just let this proceed to trial?
I think we can let it proceed to trial.
Okay. Let me remind everybody some dates here. So there's what's called a pre-trial that would probably be in front of me on July 25th at 9 o'clock, and then a readiness hearing on August 8th at 11:30. And then that's when the parties will find out the exact time and date of the trial. Based on trial setting notice. Get rid of that sound. Based on the trial setting notice, looks like the parties will be back here on July 25th. So,
okay.
Are you back here then? All right, good.
Good. Thank you.
I had sent this case to mediation. Has that occurred, and what was the result of that?
Well, no, it has not occurred. In short, I received a letter from the Community Mediation Center because I had contacted Chris and let him know who was going to do our mediation on May 2nd. I let him know. The Mediation Center sent me a letter stating they're closing our case because they've not received the mediation fee in advance and in a timely manner from the second party, which would have been Chris. He then contacted them May, I want to say 28th, saying that he would pay. So then it pushed our date out past what our court date would have been. So they scheduled for June 13th.
Then I think what I want to do, I want to let that go forward and then set another review in this court on June 21st. If it does not resolve at mediation, then I want to get this case back on track to move it forward through the court.
Is there a way in the meantime that you can request a drug urinalysis from him?
I think I'm going to leave that to the mediators at this point.
Okay.
Referring to the mediator, I'm going to let them handle that.
And is he in appearance today, Chris?
He hasn't responded yet. Let me ask one more time. Is Christopher Olson here?
Okay. So can we note that on the?
If this case ends up coming back to the court system, then you can renew that request and we can address it.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll put this over to June 21 at 9 o'clock. Mr. Anagnost, represents
Okay.
Ms. Ray. I saw. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
that appointment. Is Ms. Ray here? I don't hear her.
I know when I spoke with her yesterday, she indicated she was going to be here, Your Honor.
Let me just ask again. Is Shauna Ray here?
I know in the hearing yesterday, she wasn't able to get on. She was trying to get on. And of course, all those hearings got moved yesterday.
Right. We moved that hearing till tomorrow. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I'm tracking this case to go after the decision in the minor guardianship case. So we should put this case over then just a week to June 14th. And we'll see what happens in the minor guardianship case.
All right. I was trying to go through all the pleadings that have been filed in this case, which are extensive. There's a 44-page list of pleadings, and was trying to figure out what it's on for. It's on for review, or?
Well, it got set for a parenting plan. And then I think after that, there was a request for minor guardianship. And so I've been having this case follow the minor guardianship case because I don't know what I'm going to do in that case, but I want that decided first.
Okay.
Did you receive the GAL report in the minor guardianship case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So we'll address that and see how we proceed with that case tomorrow then. Okay.
And this is set.
We are here
go ahead.
for the trial, which means your case is set for trial the week of June 26th. There's a readiness hearing on June 20th at 11:30. Is there any reason why this case cannot proceed to trial at this time?
No.
Okay. Mr. Antler, are you ready to proceed to trial? You'd have to unmute yourself, Mr. Antler, if you want to talk to me.
Yeah, I don't see what the process is.
Just waiting.
All right. So it sounds like you're ready to go to trial. And so I'll just remind you that there's a readiness hearing on June 20th at 11:30. And you would enter what's called the universal readiness docket. And at that time, they will tell you the exact date and time that your case will start during the week of June 26th. Ms. Looney, Ms. Turnbull, anything from you? Let's start with Ms. Looney.
Thank you, Your Honor. This state's ready to proceed to trial, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Turnbull?
No, I'll have my report in this week, so we'll be ready to proceed.
All right, very good. I'm not going to set another review in this case. This is coming up fairly quickly. And so we'll just let it go to trial at this point. Okay.
Yes, Your
Thank
Honor.
you.
Good morning.
All right, good morning to both of you. I think this hearing is to check in regarding how the reunification counseling is going. In reviewing the file, it looks like Noah is not involved in that at this point, but Rosie is. Let me start with Mr. Lackey. Have those continued?
Yes, we have an appointment tomorrow, Your Honor.
Okay.
Or not, yeah, tomorrow.
All right. And when was the last time you had a reunification counseling?
It was 2 weeks ago.
Okay, good. Ms. Lackey, how, from your perspective, how have those been going?
It's been really rough from my perspective. And actually, I put in a records request for counseling records for Rosie, and I'm waiting on those to come in. And then I anticipate entering those with a motion.
Okay. All right. Well, for now, I'd like the reunification counseling meetings to continue. And if you are seeking to make a motion in the future, then you can go ahead and note that and make sure Mr. Lackey gets any documents that you provide to the court.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I don't know when you're going to file that. I would like to, if these are happening every 2 weeks, I think I want to set a review a month out.
I think that's reasonable based on the timeline that they gave me for the records as well.
Let's go with July 12th. And if you want to note your motion on the same date, you certainly can do that.
Okay.
All right. Just a moment. The clerk has a question. All right. Thank you. We turn the camera back on. All right. We'll see you both back here on July 12th and continue the got a counseling. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Note from Ms. Turnbull. It says Ms. Kennedy has one more question for me. Ms. Kennedy, are you here?
She may be relogging back on. She was texting me.
Okay. Okay.
But,
if she does, I'll go ahead and let her in and take care.
okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Mr. Lawrence is on that. I see Mr. Gilbert's here in the courtroom or courthouse. And Ms. Gilbert, you're here. I see an
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lawrence, why don't I start with you? If you can give me an update on what's going on, or if there isn't one, I'll ask the
I met with Mr. Gilbert probably about 2 weeks ago. He had some documents for me, none of which were the drug and alcohol evaluation that was ordered by the court. I checked with the Odyssey file yesterday to find out whether or not he might have submitted the drug and alcohol evaluation, and I found that none has been filed. I saw his declaration in there where he's, and I'm trying to get this correct. Brenda had alleged that he gets up at 1:30 in the morning to drive to Portland to buy meth. And Mr. Gilbert was indicating that he couldn't understand why the Washington courts would be concerned about that because it's legal in the state of Oregon. So he was essentially admitting to using meth. He also indicated that, or provided a copy of the sheriff's report from the incident involving the domestic violence incident involving John and Brenda Gilbert. And at the investigation level, they couldn't determine whether or not domestic violence had occurred or not. It was alleged that Mr. Gilbert threw her down, but the officers found her laying on the hearth of the fireplace, and she had apparently injured her head, but had refused to undergo medical treatment. The officers tried to defuse the situation by requesting that she go live with her, or at least spend the night with her parents, who were only a few doors down, and she refused. And the officer interviewed her father, who indicated that she has bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, and that she's not medicated currently. And when she drinks, she becomes out of control. So the situation is not getting any better, Your Honor. We have an untreated bipolar schizophrenic who may be drinking and getting out of control, beating Mr. Gilbert's truck with a piece of wood. He provided pictures of some of the damages that she had created. But also, he freely admits that he uses meth, and can't understand why the court here would be concerned about that, because it's legal in the state of Oregon. And it also indicates a level of urgency and motivation that somebody who works as a logger and has to be to work early in the morning would get up at 1:30 to drive all the way to Portland to buy his drugs and then work all day. So I'm again at this place where we have been talking about trying to get Mr. Gilbert to undergo a substance abuse evaluation. He's alleging he doesn't have the funds to do it, but yet he has the funds to buy meth. And so I think the court needs to hold firm on this, that the status quo will remain until he gets his drug and alcohol evaluation completed.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Gilbert, I'll let you comment next.
Yeah, well, I basically had the same feelings as Keith. I still would like the drug evaluation. He was ordered to do a 12 panel and only did a 5 panel drug test. And I was also wondering about reoccurring tests, if that was possible. But other than that, I agree with Keith.
All right. Have there been any supervised visits since we were last together?
There was one last weekend.
Okay.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Mr. Gilbert, your turn.
First off, I'd like to apologize for the way I acted here, but I did the drug and alcohol evaluation. I don't understand. I got the receipt right here. If you can see it or not, it was done.
When did you do that?
It was done last Friday. The tribal center couldn't get me in. They were weeks out. I went down there. I did it down in Chehalis, but I did it last week on Friday. And they should have Keith Lawrence's email address. They had Aaron's email address. They had everything. And I mean, I would first off like to state, I work for a very big company. We have to type in, I can get notes for that. We have to type in our mileage on our pickups every day. From where I live, there's no way I'm going to Portland in the morning. My company has UA'd me after this came out. Everything else, the company thinks it was a joke that it was even put out there. I do not have a drug problem. I will do your UAs, whatever, and stuff. The mileage, if I have to get a note from the company I work for, the mileage does not work out. We have tablets in our things. It's got GPS tracking. I was not in Portland. I do not have a meth problem. They do not, with the price of fuel and everything else, they do not allow us to drive our crew buses to Portland to go do personal things. I'm working in Milton Road. I live in Toutle. The miles and stuff on my pickup do not add up. If I have to go to my work and get notes and stuff like that, I will go down to the office. I will turn in notes because none of that makes sense at all.
All right. So, Mr. Gilbert, what I'm looking for is objective evidence that you don't have a drug issue. And apparently you did a drug and alcohol evaluation Friday, but we don't have the results yet. Apparently you do UAs for your job. Is that right?
Yes, I work for a very big logging company here.
What's the most recent UA you did for your job?
Right when this all went around, it was around January, and then February, the Super Bowl weekend, I did one then and stuff. I will go right down right now and go do one and bring it back to the courthouse. I mean, if
I was hoping there would be one a little more recent than that, but it may be helpful to see a pattern of clean UAs from your employer. So all I'm saying is I need objective evidence. Today we don't have it, although you've done apparently what the court has requested. So do you think you can get the UAs filed with the clerk and this evaluation filed with the clerk by the end of this week?
Yeah, I'll go do a UA right now and get it filed in here.
Okay. Well, then why don't we come back a week from now, look at that documentation, and then we'll make some decisions on how we proceed.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
When this drug evaluation thing came about, Keith asked if I would be able to talk to the person doing the drug evaluation. And so that was a part of it. And I did not talk to that person. So I don't know if now that ship has sailed or if that's possible.
Well, let's do you know the company that you did the evaluation with?
No, I got their address. I would have to find it and stuff, but I can get the number and stuff like that. I gave them Keith's email address and stuff like that. I mean, I took pictures of a bunch of the questions on my phone. I could hold that up if you want to see that or whatever. I got the receipt, everything right here.
Isn't their name on the receipt?
No, yeah, New Direction Counseling.
All right, New Direction Counseling. And Ms. Gilbert, I'll invite you to give them a call today if you'd like.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
So,
all right. If you can get that stuff filed by Friday, then let's come back next Monday and take a look at it.
What do you want me to do? Just call these guys and have them get a hold of them, do a UA. I can run do that and turn it all in now.
Well, if you want to do a UA, that's great. But I need to see the results of your drug and alcohol evaluation that you did in Chehalis. And I'd like to see 2 or 3 of the UAs that you've done at your employment.
Okay.
So if you can go there, I'm sure they'll release that to you, and then just file it with the clerk's office, what we call under seal, which means that it's private so that only I can see it and not the rest of the public. Okay.
Okay.
And you should provide copies of all that to Mr. Lawrence to review also.
Okay.
And Miss Gilbert, please.
And Ms. Gilbert. And before we leave, how did the supervised visit go?
It went great. I want more, but she didn't classify that she has 3 jobs. So trying to get time, I open 7 days a week, but in a month, I've only got 1 visit. I wish to try a little harder, and I would like to get her work schedule, because if she works 3 jobs and she will never disclose when she works, it's always a no go. And I would love to see my work.
All right, let's not address that today. I want to address the visitation schedule next week once I see the results of these tests. Okay.
Okay.
I don't want to address it now because I would just end up readdressing it next week, and I don't think we need to do it twice. Okay.
So, again?
Mr. Lawrence, anything before we leave?
Yes, one matter of clarification, Your Honor. You indicated next week, which I assumed was Wednesday's docket, and then you mentioned Monday. Do you mean Monday or do you mean Wednesday for the hearing?
If I said Monday, I think that was a mistake.
Okay.
So it's June 14th.
Okay.
9 o'clock we'll be back.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you then. With Mr. Llewellyn. And I'm not sure I see you here, but oh, there you are. Great. So last time I allowed supervised visits with Ms. Woodage, and how have those visits been going?
The visits have been going very well, but they're very sporadic. Marie has a schedule of her own, and she does bartending on the weekends and has classes that she takes. I was allotted 40 hours, and I'm getting around 20, I would guess. Wednesdays, I've missed a few, and I've missed a couple of Saturdays, as well as only had half Saturdays, the 4 out of the 8 hours that I was supposed to get. And I talked with Keith. I had sent him an email, but I never heard anything back. My grandpa is unwilling to do 40 hours, and Marie is unable to do 40 hours. So my request would be that I'm able to get unsupervised visitation, where I have jumped through all the hoops that I'm supposed to have. And I think that I've done well beyond anything necessary that would be done for me to be able to see Abel unsupervised.
All right, thank you. Ms. Burkett, how do you think things are going?
I think they are going well. Abel definitely looks forward to seeing his father. Abel has told me a few different times that he does miss being able to do like our trips on the weekend. Before this, we did have kind of a busy weekend schedule, including like visiting family out of town, beach trips. He loves to go camping, that kind of thing. And so I was trying to figure out a solution to all of it. And I was considering, and I wanted to run this by Shane as well, perhaps doing like a Saturday, Sunday visit and alternating weekends so that Abel and I could still do our camping trips that I'd been promising him all year. And he could still, we could alternate Wednesdays as well. So we could still see him every week. It just would alternate the Wednesday and the Saturday, Sunday, if that makes sense. But other than that, I think they're going well. Abel definitely enjoys seeing his father, and I haven't heard anything bad about it. There is one concern that I have. It's not necessarily about the visits, but since Marie has had my phone number, I've been receiving text messages from Shane, which there is a protection order in place. In the first couple messages, I was like, I'll just let it slide. Hopefully he'll get the hint. And then the last message was like a picture message of a handwritten like love letter from him, just saying how he wants to be back together and it's what's best for Abel, and that he wants to have another baby with me. And it did kind of concern me. So I just wanted to bring that up as well. I know Marie's probably where he got that phone number from, but.
Sure. Llewellyn, do you want to address that?
The note that was written was from like 4 years ago, and she had read that one time before. It was recently after we had divorced.
Did you send it recently?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And do you understand that violates a protection order?
I do, Your Honor.
If that continues, that's going to seriously impact your ability to see your son.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. The court needs to know that you can follow the rules that have been set out between you and Ms. Llewellyn. Okay.
Mr. Burkett.
All right. Let me talk to Mr. Lawrence, and then I've got a couple more questions. But Mr. Lawrence?
Your Honor, I have had conversations with Mr. Llewellyn in the recent past. He has been asking about changing the visit supervisor from Miss Woodage to his grandfather. And I'd indicated to him that I have no authority to do that. That is something he's going to have to bring before the court and address it here, that I don't have that ability. The other issue I wanted to bring up, Your Honor, is I spoke to Ms. Burkett's mother, Sandy Burkett. And originally, Tess was going to move to Hillsborough, and she apparently has not done that, and has no intention of moving to Hillsborough. She's still residing in her parents' home. So should she go to jail, Ms. Burkett's parents are willing to provide the majority of the care for Abel. And so therefore, the urgency that we were facing seems to be relieved at this point.
So, Ms. Burkett, you indicated you'd like visits to go from Saturday to Sunday, or Saturday and then on Sunday also?
I would prefer Saturday and then on Sunday also, but
Okay, not overnight then, is that right?
yeah.
What's your position on unsupervised visits at this time?
It still is a concern for me, of course, just with the past, it's hard for me to get over. My concern is, I'm not exactly, like, I'm sure maybe Keith has this information, I don't have it, but I haven't gotten an update on if he is taking his medications, or if he's not smoking marijuana currently. I haven't heard an update on that recently either. And I hope that the medication is still working well for him.
And last question is, he wants to use his grandfather as a supervisor. Is that right? Your grandfather or your father?
I am unable to use my grandfather. He's not willing to do 40 hours, and Marie is unable to do 40 hours. That's why I'm asking for unsupervised.
Why are you saying 40 hours? These visits are Saturday 10 to 6 and then on Wednesdays.
Yes, every Saturday is 10 to 6 and every Wednesday is 5:30 to 7:30. It's 40
So
hours.
40 hours a month is what you're talking about?
Yes, sir. Your Honor.
Okay.
And
Ms. Woodage isn't available all of those times?
a lot of those times she's not. And even the times that I think she might be, halfway through the week, she says, "Oh, I got a bartending gig," because she works weddings and stuff over the weekend. So they're just hit and miss all over the place. She never really knows. I was supposed to have a visit with him today, and I'm unable to have that visit as well.
Can I say something quickly?
Yes, please.
Marie had asked me a couple different times if it would be okay if Shane's mother supervised, at least partial of the visit when Marie couldn't. And I am okay with Michelle supervising. I trust her fully, if that's an option.
Mr. Llewellyn, any response to that?
So my mom really doesn't want to hold the visits at her home anymore. And not only that, but my stepfather will be back from his flying job that he's been out for like 6 months now. And he, from like a year and a half, 2 years ago, he has got a restraining order on me. So I can't even do the visits at my house. And I would also like to add that I'm currently still taking my urinalysis. I just recently took one. I can get that information over. But since I've been doing so well, my med prescriber said that we're going to do them every 3 months. But if you guys would like to go back to every month or even sooner, I'm more than happy to do so.
All right.
Your Honor, may I add something else?
Go ahead.
So I would think it'd be beneficial if I could get from like Friday night to Sunday night with Abel. That way I would have still quite a bit of time with him. And then he would have, that'd be every other weekend. That way he would have a free weekend with his mom as well. And Abel has talked to me as well about, oh, can we go? He had just recently went to Great Wolf Lodge, and he asked me, he's like, can we go to Great Wolf Lodge? And I told him, I was like, well, buddy, it depends on what happens, but we might be able to do that. And I think if I could get every Wednesday and then every other weekend from sometime after like 5 o'clock on Friday to a specified time on Sunday, that I think that would work out well. And me being able to take him places, like we could go on a beach trip over the weekend as well. And I could take him to go get food or go to Walmart or go to the beach or Merwin, just really anything. It'd be open up my options a lot more, our options.
All right. So I want you to get to that place. I think that's exactly the kind of relationship I want you to have with your son. What I'm looking at today is you've violated a protection order, and that raises a concern for me. And it raises a concern where I'm not sure I'm ready to take that step. So I don't know. Well, I am going to make a change to allow every other weekend with Ms. Burkett. So the change will be the visitation will be Saturday 10 to 6, and the same weekend will be Sunday 10 to 6. And that will be every other weekend. And then I guess on the off weeks is what you're suggesting. So the Wednesdays will also go to alternating Wednesdays going forward. Well, you would see, let's start with you seeing Abel this weekend.
And are these unsupervised visits, Your Honor?
No, they're going to stay supervised.
Yes.
Again, the concern is violating the protection order. They're really, all I'm changing is the times.
May I say one thing, Your Honor?
You may.
I do fully understand that I violated that, but we have been separated for close to 5 years now, and I had never sent anything. And honestly, after that picture message, I had no intention of sending another. And I know that's just hearsay, but that is a hand on a Bible truth.
I understand. There was a violation. Okay. So you'll see Abel this Saturday, the 10th, and Sunday, the 11th. If you're able to coordinate that, it needs to be supervised. And then Ms. Burkett, just so I understand, would the Wednesday be the 14th or be the 21st if we go every other?
21st.
All right. So then it would be Wednesday, the 21st, and then he would have also the next weekend, the 24th and the 25th.
Yes.
So I just want to set that up so we know what the every other days are going to be.
Okay.
Your Honor.
And they're going to stay supervised. I'm going to set a review hearing. I'd like to see how that goes for a while. And then I would like to consider unsupervised visits, but I can't do that today. Go ahead, Mr. Llewellyn.
Would it still be fine for me to get the 5:30 to 7:30 every Wednesday? Because that's in the middle of the week.
I'm giving that time frame as long as that works with everybody. Nobody's mentioned anything about it, so
Well, I thought you would say every other Wednesday.
Every other Wednesday.
Could we do
Starting the 21st now?
Could we do every Wednesday and then every other weekend, Saturday 10 to 6 and then Sunday 10 to 6?
Yes.
So every Wednesday, Your Honor?
Not every Wednesday, every other Wednesday. No. Okay. And then
and what are the times for Wednesday?
5:30 to 7:30.
My other concern is I still am unable to get my visitation with Marie all the time. So that's still going to cause a hiccup in everything. And that's why I think it would be nice to be able to have unsupervised visits, but I fully understand your standpoint.
Thank you. And again, I want to get there. That is where everybody should be at some point in the future. And I do want to get there. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. If you've had some recent drug tests, or I think you mentioned that you may have been having that, if you want to file those results with the clerk's office so that Mr. Lawrence and I can see those, and also Ms. Burkett, then that would be helpful. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. I just took one like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, so I can get that over.
Why don't you file that? Okay. That will confirm both that you're on your medication and that there's nothing illicit going on. So, okay.
Would you like me to switch back to monthly? I'm happy to do so, but the med prescriber thought that we could do every 3 months because everything's going extremely well.
I will let your prescriber make that decision. I'm not going to make any healthcare decisions for you. Okay. But it may make sense for you to file any testing results with the court for a bit. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lawrence, anything further from you?
No, Your Honor. Just when do you plan to have the review hearing?
Yeah, let's go a month out. And that would be July 12th again.
Your Honor, I'm still curious about how I'm going to get the full 10 to 6 and 10 to 6 every other weekend if Marie is always having bartending gigs come up.
That may be a hindrance, and it's going to be subject to Ms. Woodidge's schedule. And so I'm sorry about that. But we did discuss a couple other alternative supervisors, but none of them seem to work out. So we're going to have to leave it with Ms. Woodidge right now.
If my mom is willing to do partial visits, not the full visits, but just the times that Marie is unavailable, would that be able to be an option?
If that works for you, apparently that works for Ms. Burkett. So I am okay with that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Any Ms. Burkett, any other questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, we'll be back here on. All right, I saw your motion for contempt, and what I didn't see was that Ms. Osborne was served. Do you know if she was served?
I'm not sure if she was served.
Unfortunately, I don't hear you right now. Why don't you try muting, unmuting, and see if that helps?
I'm not sure if she was served.
Okay. Did you take any steps to serve her with this motion?
No, I thought that legal aid was handling that.
Oh, well, she wasn't served. So why don't you talk to legal aid? I think you're going to have to get another order to show cause with a new date and get that served on her, and then we can go forward.
Thank you.
And that has to be personally served on her. Order to show causes have to be personally served. Okay.
Your
Okay.
Honor,
Thank you.
interrupt.
Oh, yes. You had a question. Go ahead.
Sorry. So when we had the guardian ad litem was requested, we did not talk about who was financially responsible for that. My concern is that with Mr. Hanna's history, he is probably good for paying his portion. So could we consider it being a state paid guardian ad litem?
Consider it what again?
The court pay the guardian ad litem fees?
I can't do that because I think both of you made more than the threshold amount. And so I'm going to leave him responsible for it. If he doesn't pay it, when you go to trial, that's something that you can address with the trial court, and they could enter a judgment against him for the amount or take some other steps.
Okay. As far as I know, he doesn't have a job and hasn't had one, and he is like over a year in behind in child support. Like he has shown no for financial support.
Are you working right now?
I have been a stay-at-home mom 2018. My husband does work.
Okay. They usually base it on household income. And before I would consider it, I would need both you and Mr. Hanna to file a financial declaration with the court so I could see what your household income is and see whether you meet the threshold. So if you want to be free to do that, and if you can encourage, I don't know if you have any contact with Mr. Hanna, but maybe Ms. Turnbull could send him a note to ask him to do that. If I see that, then I may consider it.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you. All right. We're at Alyssa Gutierrez and Francisco Gutierrez. I think they're both here.
I'm here.
All right.
I'm here.
Mr. Gutierrez here. There was a report by Mr. Lawrence. Did both of you have a chance to see that?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we hear from Mr. Lawrence first, and then I'll give the parties a chance to respond, and then we'll have to make some decisions. Go ahead, Mr. Lawrence.
Your Honor, as the court recalls, last week, I guess it was,
It was.
the court asked me to investigate the requested move on the part of Alyssa to Ellensburg and to give the court guidance for your decision today. I did meet with Alyssa, and I also met with Francisco, who goes by Julian. And what I discovered is that Alyssa actually grew up in Ellensburg, and she has a lot of family there. And her job here with FedEx was requiring her to spend more and more time away from the kids, and wanted her to undergo a 2 to 3 week training where she would have been out of town. And she didn't want to do that. And so she sought a new job and found a dental assistant apprenticeship with Mountain View Dental in Ellensburg. And she starts out at $20 an hour. And after 120 days of her apprenticeship, she would earn her certificate, and then her rate of pay would go up to $26 per hour. She is rented a home in Ellensburg that is 1 block from the elementary school and just a couple of minutes from the middle school. So the kids, the home is close to the school for the kids. She would not be spending as much time away from the children. She'd be working a 4 10-hour per day schedule. And so she has volunteered that she would be willing to maintain the visitation with Julian and the kids by transporting the children to and from Ellensburg to Vancouver. And so he would lose no time with the children. She would also sell the family home, which she was awarded during the original divorce. Julian, I had a chance to speak to him. His concern is that he is now living with his sister in Vancouver, and with child support, he doesn't have the funds to actually pay child support and find a new home of his own. So he was concerned that if she moves, he would not have the ability to maybe relocate to Longview and then be able to have a 50-50 arrangement with the children and potentially reduce his child support down to 0. And so this move of Alyssa's would destroy that plan. Alyssa indicated that when they first separated that she had researched rooms for rent for him in the Longview area, but he rejected that and decided to go ahead and move down closer to his work at the post office. He's near the Portland airport. So we're kind of in this standoff situation. My impression from talking to Julian was not so much that he was concerned the kids were going to be moved further distance away from him, but more that he would not be able to then get a 50-50 arrangement and be able to reduce his child support. In addition to that, my recommendation, as the court has seen in my report, is that Alyssa be allowed to move to Ellensburg with the children, and that the visitation remain status quo, at least for now. And the other part of that is Alyssa sent me an email shortly after the Memorial Day holiday, indicating that there had been a major issue with the visit, that the oldest child, Carson, had called on Saturday morning, or Saturday sometime during the day. I assumed it was morning, but it could have been afternoon, that the children awoke and Francisco wasn't there. And they didn't know that he was going to go to work, and they didn't know where he was. Carson indicated to his mother that about 2 o'clock, he returned from work, but in Carson's interpretation, he thought his father was drunk. Then on Sunday morning, the children again awoke that Francisco was not there, and also the sister was not there as well, and the children were left alone. And so Alyssa called the Clark County Sheriff's Office to do a welfare check, and I spoke to Julian about this, and he provided me with copies of his work schedule, which I included in my report, that he apparently was scheduled to work both Saturday and Sunday. However, he didn't communicate that well. Alyssa thought that he was not working on Saturday. She was aware he might be working Sunday, Julian's sister was aware that he was working Saturday, but not aware that he was working Sunday. And his sister's husband had a soccer match. And so she went to watch him play and left the kids without checking Julian's room where the kids were sleeping. And so the kids woke up and nobody was in the home other than them. And I asked his sister about whether or not he came home drunk on Saturday. And she said, no, she didn't think so. But she did indicate that he had 3 beers after he got home from work. And his sister indicated that she guesstimated that the children on Sunday were left at home alone for about an hour and a half. Now, understand that Stella, the smallest child, the older child, Carson, would have to change her diapers. And also she has food allergies. And if she ate something she shouldn't have, he would have had to administer her EpiPen. And he was not prepared to do that. So at this point, the primary allegations surrounding the separation, which led to the divorce, and now the issues with the visitation, is Julian's drinking. He apparently was in the Kaiser Permanente addictions medicine program. He was in outpatient treatment. But Alyssa provided me with a copy of a letter from that program indicating that he had failed to show up, and they were giving him a few days to respond or they were going to discharge him, which apparently they did. I think at this point, there's enough smoke here that I am real concerned about Julian getting a substance abuse evaluation that includes Alyssa and my input, so that the evaluator gets a full rounded picture of what we're dealing with. Once that happens, well, let me back up. I think it may be in the best interest of the kids to suspend visits at this point, pending this evaluation. And if he decides to then enroll in any treatment recommendations, then we start meeting out more and more time for Julian with the children. And as long as he is in compliance with his treatment obligations, then he gets, again, more and more visitation time with the children. But under no circumstance should he ever be consuming alcohol, either just prior to or during any visits with the children. And that would conclude my report, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Let me hear from Ms. Gutierrez, and then I'll go to Mr. Gutierrez.
Hi. Yeah, I agree with everything that Keith has said. That's honestly been all I've wanted since the divorce. When I originally filed the parenting plan, he was trying to go to an outpatient treatment. So I figured, I'd give him the chance and benefit of the doubt. I thought that he was going to follow through with his treatment and be able to be a better father for the kids. He tried it twice. He decided to leave both times. The treatment center tried to reach out to him and get him to come back, and he refused to go back. So at this point, it is a concern that the kids are around that. And the one person that I trusted to kind of be a supervisor was his sister. And it seems that she's not set to do that, being she can't tell him, not to drink around the kids. He won't listen to her. And at this point, I just want him to get treatment and be better for the kids. I have no problem if, they decide to suspend his visitation for now. I do think that I can do like video calls and phone calls just to keep that relationship between them, because I know it's very important. The kids are a little standoffish, but I will continue to keep in contact so that he can at least have conversations with them. I think the drug and alcohol evaluation would be beneficial so that they can actually see what we're dealing with. And hopefully they will decide to do like some kind of test to prove his consumption. And then my other concern, like my daughter does have really bad allergies. She has to have an EpiPen, but my other concern is my 5-year-old. He does have a heart condition, so he has to be, with an adult all the time. his blood pressure can go up. He has a bad asthma, so he has to have an inhaler as well. So them being left unattended is not acceptable. I feel that he needs to have adequate childcare if he's going to have visitation.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gutierrez?
Yes.
You can respond to anything that Mr. Lawrence or Ms. Gutierrez said if you'd like to.
I don't see the point of doing any treatment. I don't feel like I need to. I mean, if I have to, I do it. I don't have a drug problem. I think having a beer or two here and there, I don't see that as a big issue. They're just trying to paint a big image for me having like this big alcohol problem, which I don't have. But I mean, I'm willing to do anything as long as I get my time with the kids.
Let me start with the request for an immediate order that Ms. Gutierrez be able to move with the children to, I believe it's Ellensburg. And Mr. Lawrence laid out a number of criteria based on RCW 2609520. These criteria are essentially a balancing test. So not one is controlling, but the court is to look at all of these factors and determine whether on balance the move should be allowed. I'm going to adopt the evaluation by Mr. Lawrence on his factors 1 through 11. And I'm going to find that on balance, the move to Ellensburg should be allowed. And so Ms. Gutierrez can move the children there and begin her new job. The second issue is the alleged alcohol use. I find the evidence that Mr. Gutierrez came home drunk is not sufficient for me to base any decision on. But there are two other factors that do cause the court concern. It's apparently undisputed that when he came home on, I believe it was Saturday, he had 3 beers while he was watching the children. But sir,
can I say something about that?
Well, okay, go ahead. Your sister said you had 3 beers, so go ahead. What do you want to say?
That was late in the evening. That wasn't right after I got here. I got here around 2:00, maybe 1:30, and I picked them up. I took them to the park. I took them out to eat and came back. We all showered. We all, got comfortable and stuff like that. That wasn't during the day. That was like later in that evening. That was like right before bed. We were just chilling. We were just playing video games. And yes. That was.
Your children were with you at that time, right?
Yes. I mean, I have pictures of them playing at the park and stuff like, and out to eat and stuff. So that was not right when I got here. I picked them up and I took them out. And if 2-3 beers I had, that was in the evening. That was late, not super late at night, but that was after 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, something like that.
All right, thank you. What's more concerning is that it's also, well, it's not disputed that the children were left alone at least an hour and a half. That's the sister's estimate. Sir, I've listened to everybody comment on all of this, so I'm going through my decision. Okay. So apparently 2 of the children have health concerns. To allow the children to be alone for an hour and a half is just not acceptable. So there does need to be some objective inquiry into whether there is a substance abuse issue.
If about that day, if I knew my sister had left or was going to leave, I would have left work right away. I didn't find out until like 45 minutes later or something like that she was not here. So that's when I left work and rushed over here because I had plans for them. But if I knew my sister left, If she would have told me something or said something to me, I would have been here sooner.
Well, there appears to be at least a breakdown in communication between you and your sister over this issue, because leaving 5 children, many of them very young and with health issues alone, is again not acceptable. So,
I mean, she's done the same. My oldest son talked to me about it. She's done the same thing to them, including with her boyfriend's children as well.
all right, Mr. Gutierrez, I need you to listen to the rest of this without comment. If you start commenting, I'm going to mute you, because I need to let you know what we're going to do. I am going to take Mr. Lawrence's suggestion at this point, and I'm going to suspend visitation. I want Mr. Gutierrez to obtain a drug and alcohol evaluation, and that will be with collateral input from Ms. Gutierrez and Mr. Lawrence. I want the results of that to be filed with the court. If treatment is recommended, then Mr. Gutierrez will need to follow it. If Mr. Gutierrez is right and he has no problem, then after the evaluation, no treatment should be recommended, and we'll go from there. But the court needs, at this point, objective evidence that there's no problem. When, well, we'll look at the results of that, and hopefully as quickly as possible, begin visits again. Ms. Gutierrez has offered to transport the children to where Mr. Gutierrez is, and so that will be part of the order whenever we get to that point. Prior to that, I'm going to allow video and telephone visits as frequently as possible between the children and Mr. Gutierrez. When the drug and alcohol evaluation is done, then that needs to be provided to Ms. Gutierrez, Mr. Lawrence, and also filed with the court. Okay. I'm going to sign the immediate order allowing the move. I think we should set a review hearing to see if that evaluation is done. We should probably go out to July 12th on that. And that would be for the purpose of checking in on the evaluation. If it's done sooner and Mr. Gutierrez wants to get this to court sooner than that, you're free to file a notice of hearing and send it to everyone, and we can address this soon. Okay. All right, that's it for today. You're muted right now if you want to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm really sick right now. But other than that, without the continuance, I think with no contact order lifted at this point, I feel like for me to feel safe and Greg to feel safe, I would like another month of him and I being able to text and his daughter call him and my daughter call me and each other scare and see how that goes. Like, I want to keep the courts involved for right now. And also, sorry, I'm really sick right now.
All right. How far out do you want to go on the continuance?
We'll leave that up to Greg. I'm thinking maybe a month, but it's also up to Greg. So,
Mr. Reeves, any comment on putting this out a month? You're muted right now.
well, I want to keep the courts involved.
I'm willing to do that. Do you want to go out to by 12th?
So he said it's not working.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. Reeves, let's work through chat. Can you hear me? Do you have any objection to putting this case out to July 12th? He said no. So, okay. So we'll just put this out to July 12th and see you both back here then.
Okay. Also, with that, are him and I allowed to talk one-on-one, like through phone? Not him and I, but for our daughter. That's all I want.
You want to be able to communicate directly with Mr. Reeves regarding
Our daughter. And I have to take her to Portland on next Monday. And it's like, I don't have to, but I'm going to, like, type of thing. So I want to be able to communicate about medical issues with her or just anything. Sometimes she asks for daddy and, and it's like, I tell her daddy's at work. I'm sorry, we can't call him right now. And him and I agreed on that. So
Mr. Reeves, again, using the chat, do you have an objection with talking to Ms. Davenport directly regarding Adeline?
It could be through text. That way there's proof of everything.
All right, she's indicating through text. All right, so that's fine. He just wants it to be minimal.
Same here.
Can we
Same
do
here.
that?
But I really want to keep the courts involved because
All right.
I never got to say like my side of the story. So I'm a little hesitant too. Sorry.
So let's do it through texting and do keep it minimal. And
Okay.
either side has a problem with what's
Okay.
texted, you can bring that to the court's attention on the 12th.
All right. Also, one more thing, Father's Day. That's my visitation day, but she needs to be with her dad. It's Father's Day. So what do you recommend for him and I to do? Like switch days?
Why don't you see if you can switch days? Normally a Father's Day would take precedent over other days. So
Absolutely.
send a text over, see if you can work that out.
Okay.
I think the sooner you and Mr. Reeves are able to work together to deal with those kind of issues, I think the better off everybody's going to be. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for being sensitive to Father's Day. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. She has a dad that fought for her. I'm not going to. Yeah. I love that. All right. Thank you.
All right. I hope you get better. We'll see you back here in a month. Thank
Yeah.
you, Mr. Reeves, for working with us for being patient, Ms. Hansen.
Of course.
Oakland has continued to reside with you.
Yes.
And it looks like Mr. Gray isn't here. He's not in the waiting room. And Ms. Corey has indicated she tried every way she could to contact him. And she feels there's a willful, I think she called it actively avoiding contact with her. Is that a fair statement, Ms. Corey? Okay. Well, so I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put together a parenting plan where custody is going to be with Ms. Hansen, and that there will be no contact with Mr. Gray until he will have to initiate a petition to come to court to ask for visitation. At that time, the court will be able to inquire about why he took Oakland for so long and what was relating to that, and determine whether it's safe to have Oakland with him in any capacity. But right now, without having him contact the GAL, without having him in court, I really have no information. And I think it's appropriate to simply indicate in a parenting plan that he doesn't have any visitation at this time.
Okay.
Ms. Corey?
Yes, we do have a final review scheduled for the 29th, and I did kind of hop on it and do what I could for you in order to have a written interim. Would you want to put that off for a couple of months and keep it on the schedule, or just leave it open, have me continue working on it, or have me stop working on it for the time being?
What month is that?
It's actually scheduled for the 29th of this month.
That's a Thursday, which is unusual.
Maybe I have that date wrong.
My thought is just to strike it and have you submit your fees to me for approval, and just have no additional reviews, and put the burden on Mr. Gray to come back to court if he wants to see Oakland.
Okay.
All right. So let's strike the next hearing, whether it's the 28th or 29th. Is it the 20? It's what?
It's the 21st.
Oh, it's the 21st. Okay. That's in 2 weeks.
Oh, I am so sorry. I was looking at the wrong case.
All right. So we'll strike the 21st. I'll put together a parenting plan and file it. That might take me a couple days. So Ms. Hansen, you may want to come by next week to pick up a copy of that. So
Okay.
Okay. Do you want a protection order entered or restraining order entered against Mr. Gray?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. All right.
So would I just kind of leave this hanging there or consider myself dismissed, or, I mean, chances are if he comes back into the picture that I would be reappointed.
That's what I would anticipate happening, whether he comes back next week or a year from now, that you would be reappointed.
Okay.
To address it at that time. But what I'm doing is simply putting the burden on Mr. Gray to do something if he's interested in having visits. And I'm not prejudging what I would do if he comes back, but he hasn't participated at this point. And so I think it's appropriate to put the burden on him. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hansen. And I may see you in the future, but if not, good luck.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, the last case is Amber Sargent and Jesse Dewey. And we don't have either of them in court, but I know, Ms. Looney, you have a child support.
Yes, Your Honor. We would actually just be asking to strike the hearing today. We were notified late last week by Ms. Sargent that Mr. Dewey has passed away. We were able to confirm that through vital statistics. So we're not able to put a child support order in place because of his passing. So we're just asking to strike today.
You're just striking it. Okay.
Yes. We were hoping she'd be present so we could talk about potential dismissal of the case, but I don't think that's appropriate without her being here.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I may see you on the paternity trials in a few minutes.
I will be there, Your Honor.